You ever watch someone's life collapse in slow motion? Not because of a tragedy, but because of a decision so small, so ordinary, they never even felt it happening. Picture this: a man standing in a dark kitchen at 2 a.m., staring at a bank account that looks like a flat line. No emergency, no job loss, just a slow bleed he never noticed. He whispers the same sentence millions of Americans repeat every night: "I don't know where my money went." And here's the part no one warns you about. Most people stay poor long before they ever feel poor. The damage begins quietly, silently, in places you think are harmless. There is one specific pattern, one psychological glitch that keeps people broke even when they work hard, cut expenses, and swear they're trying. It hides inside every decision you make, every purchase, every goal you start and abandon. And if you don't fix this one thing, it won't matter how much you earn. Your financial life will never move. Not an inch. But I won't reveal it yet. You need to see the trap first, because once you see it, you'll finally understand why your progress always disappears right when you start building momentum. Stay with me. The truth is darker than you expect, and once you hear it, you won't be able to unsee it. Here is the part people avoid because it cuts too close. Most Americans aren't poor because of income. They are poor because of denial. A quiet, invisible denial that shapes every financial decision long before the numbers show it. You tell yourself you are doing your best. You tell yourself your spending is normal. You tell yourself you will save when things get better. But nothing changes. Because the problem isn't outside your life. It is inside your patterns. Poverty, the real kind, does not begin with an empty wallet. It begins with a mind that refuses to confront its own contradictions. You want comfort, but you also want progress. You want freedom, but you also want the feeling of reward right now. You want wealth, but you sabotage the very habits that create it. People stay broke because their identity is glued to short-term relief. The dopamine of the purchase. The illusion that it's just a small expense. The story that you'll fix it later. But later never comes. Because the same brain making those promises is the same brain breaking them. And here is the truth. Until you face the internal conflict driving your financial behavior, your bank account will always return to the same shape. No matter how much money passes through your hands. This is the part experts rarely say out loud. It is not your budget that is broken. It is the narrative you use to justify avoiding responsibility. And it gets worse. Because once this narrative takes hold, it doesn't just drain your money. It drains your future. Meet Alex and Jordan. Same age, same income, same opportunities, but two completely different financial destinies. Alex lives in a loop he doesn't see. Every time stress hits, he buys something small to feel better. A coffee, a quick meal, a gadget he swears will improve his life. The purchases are tiny, harmless in his mind, but each one reinforces the same identity. I deserve this now. Jordan moves differently. When stress hits, he pauses. He sits with the discomfort instead of escaping it. He chooses the feeling of control over the feeling of relief. It's not dramatic. It's not heroic. It's quiet discipline practiced in moments no one notices. One night, both of them sit down to check their accounts. Alex sees another month evaporated. His progress wiped out by decisions so small he forgot making them. He promises himself he'll fix it next month, unaware he said the same thing last month. Jordan sees the opposite. Slow growth. Nothing flashy, but consistent, steady, predictable. He is building a future he can feel, even if it's still far away. And here is where the story turns dark. Alex believes Jordan is lucky. Jordan knows Alex is lying to himself. 2 men, same world. Only one confronts discomfort. Only one gets ahead. Because the difference between staying poor and getting wealthy rarely comes from income. It comes from what you do in the quiet moments when no one is watching. Here it is. The part I held back. The reason people stay poor even when they try, hustle, read books, take advice, and swear they're improving. It isn't discipline. It isn't budgeting. It isn't income. It is something far more subtle. Something psychological. Something that controls your decisions long before you notice them. The real reason you stay broke is this. You avoid facing the truth about your own behavior, that's it. Not dramatic, not glamorous, but brutally accurate. Humans create stories to protect themselves from discomfort. Stories that feel true, sound true, and even convince you they are true. But those stories are the exact walls trapping you in the same financial patterns year after year. I deserve it. I'll make it back. It's just this. Once? I'll start saving next month. I'm doing better than most people. Every sentence feels harmless, but each one is a thread in the web keeping you stuck. Here's the revelation you've avoided. Your financial life is not shaped by the big decisions you obsess over. It is shaped by the micro lies you tell yourself to avoid discomfort. This is the glitch, the fracture, the hidden mechanism behind years of stagnation. And until you confront it directly, until you expose the story you've been using to excuse your own behavior, nothing changes. Not your income, not your savings, not your future. This is the part most people never fix. And it's the reason most people never escape. Now you understand the glitch. But seeing it is only the beginning. Because this psychological trap doesn't operate loudly. It whispers. It waits. It blends into the everyday moments you barely notice. Think about the last time you promised yourself you would save. You felt motivated, powerful, ready to change. But then a small desire appeared. A craving. A convenience. Something cheap enough to justify, but expensive enough to sabotage progress. And you told yourself a story. You always do. A story that protects your comfort while killing your momentum. This is how the trap grows. Not through big financial events, but through repeated micro-abandonments. Tiny exits from responsibility. A few dollars here, a few excuses there. Nothing dramatic but constant. Here is the part that stings. Your brain is not trying to destroy your wealth. It is trying to keep you emotionally safe. Avoiding stress, avoiding discipline, avoiding the identity shift required to build real financial stability. Wealth demands discomfort, and your mind is wired to run from it. That is why progress feels impossible. You are not fighting your finances. You are fighting a version of yourself that wants relief more than results. And every time you choose relief, you reinforce the same identity. I can't stay consistent. I always mess this up. I'm not built for money. But here's the twist. Those beliefs are not reflections of who you are. They are symptoms of a pattern you never learned to break. This is why income upgrades don't save you. Why budgeting alone fails. Why motivation fades. Because until you confront the pattern itself, your life will repeat the same story with different numbi. Here is where everything changes. Not with a trick, not with a hack, not with a motivational speech that fades in an hour. The real shift begins the moment you stop negotiating with your own excuses. Not fighting them, not arguing with them, just refusing to let them steer your decisions. Wealth is built through one skill most people never develop. The ability to act according to your future, not your feelings. This is the dividing line between people who escape financial chaos and people who drown in it. Your feelings want comfort. Your future needs discipline. Your feelings want relief. Your future needs structure. Your feelings want the quick high. Your future needs the slow build. And here is the uncomfortable truth. Your life will always mirror the voice you obey most. The moment you choose long-term identity over short-term emotion, the pattern breaks. Slowly at first, then violently. Because this shift triggers something powerful inside you. Not motivation, alignment. When you start acting like the person you claim you want to become, every decision becomes simpler. Not easier, but clearer. And clarity is the beginning of freedom. The method is not complicated, but it is uncomfortable. You pause before spending. You question the story behind the impulse. You ask, is this the old me or the future me? Most people never ask that. They operate on autopilot. You won't anymore. Because once you see the pattern, you can't pretend you don't. And once you question the impulse, its power collapses. This is the turning point. The first moment where your future finally outweighs your comfort. Now that the pattern is exposed, you need a method that doesn't collapse the moment life gets inconvenient. A system built for real humans, not perfect ones. Here is the game changer. You remove willpower from the equation. You stop relying on motivation. You stop trusting your moods. You stop believing the lie that you'll feel ready later. Instead, you create structural commitment, a financial environment that forces you to act like your future self even when you don't want to. It starts with one simple rule. Make the right choice, the default choice. Automatic transfers on payday. Zero temptation accounts. Barriers between you and impulse spending. Physical separation between spending money and savings. Not because you're weak, but because you're human. This method doesn't ask you to be disciplined every day. It asks you to set up discipline once, then let the system do the work. Think of it like guardrails on a mountain road. They don't make you a better driver. They make it harder to fall off the cliff. That's what structural commitment does. It protects you from your own impulses. It keeps your progress alive even on the days you are tired, stressed, or tempted. Jordan in our earlier story wasn't stronger than Alex. He just built guardrails. He didn't trust willpower. He trusted structure. And that's why he rose while Alex stayed stuck. The game changes the moment you stop depending on your mood and start depending on your system. Because systems don't get emotional. Systems don't negotiate. Systems don't self-sabotage. They just work. Silently. Relentlessly. This is how ordinary people build extraordinary financial lives. This is the part people underestimate. They think building wealth is about numbers, strategies, investments, formulas. But beneath all of that, something far more fundamental is happening. Your identity is shifting. Quietly, slowly, but unmistakably. When you stop obeying impulses and start honoring your future, you are no longer the person who stays broke. You become someone else. Someone who can hold discomfort. Someone who can delay gratification. Someone who acts with intention, not emotion. And that transformation leaks into every part of your life. You speak differently. You choose differently. You walk differently. Because you are finally living in alignment with the person you've always claimed you wanted to be. Here is the truth almost no one understands. Money doesn't change you. But the discipline required to build money does. It rewires how you think. It sharpens your awareness. It forces you to confront the parts of yourself you've avoided for years. And once you cross that internal threshold, something remarkable happens. You no longer fear being broke. Not because you're rich, but because you finally understand you will never sabotage yourself the same way again. That is real security. Not the number in your account, but the trust you build with yourself. This is why wealthy behavior shows up long before wealthy results. The identity comes first, the money comes second. And by the time the world sees your progress, you'll already know the truth. You didn't just fix your finances, you rebuilt yourself. Picture this, a future version of you, standing in a quiet room, early morning light cutting through the blinds. No chaos, no panic, no shame, just a calm certainty you never had before. Not because life magically became easier, but because you finally stopped running from yourself. You faced the truth most people never touch. You confronted the stories that kept you stuck. You broke the cycle that held you for years. And now? Your financial life moves with a clarity that once felt impossible. Your decisions feel aligned. Your progress feels real. Your future feels reachable. Here's the part that matters most. You didn't get here through luck, or talent, or some secret nobody else has. You got here because you made one powerful choice. To stop letting comfort write your story. And now the loop is closed. The glitch is exposed. The patterns are broken. But the journey isn't over. It never is. This path demands consistency, awareness, honesty, the willingness to choose your future over your impulses day after day. If you can do that even imperfectly, you'll separate yourself from the 90% who will never wake up. This is your moment, your shift, your proof that change is possible. So if this message hit you where it needed to, stay here. There is more coming, more truth, more clarity, more tools to build the life you know you're capable of. And if you want to keep growing with me, subscribe, not for me, for the future version of you who refuses to go back.